Okay, what's the problem here? Let's see. Nope. Hello. Okay. As usual, we have some technical issues here. Start soon. Okay. Okay. Alrighty. Hi, everyone. If you are seeing me, I am not seeing you. So just give me 1 second to see you on the Facebook live stream, and I will be with you in a minute. Okay. Live. Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. So we are all open. Hello. Hi, everyone. If you can see me, sorry about any delay. Having some lag issues here. I think we're now starting. Okay. All righty. Great. Yeah. All right. So can you hear me, everyone? Yeah. Okay. Hi, everyone. Could you just give me 1 minute? Let me overcome some viewing issues here, and I will be with you. Very excited to get the webinar started. Live. Yeah. I want to be able to answer your comments. There we go. As we go. Hi, everyone. Sorry for the little mix-up. There was quite a delay between my feed and yours, but we seem to have gotten over it now. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Alicia Banfield of Banfield's Professional Medical English, and welcome to one of the usual webinars that we put on to do with OET and the OET exam. Many of you are thinking either about doing the OET exam, or a lot of you have your exam coming up. So welcome, and hope that today you can pick up some tips on the reading part C. Now, what I like to do is to welcome everyone as they're coming in. So feel free when you write in to not only say hello, but also to say where you're writing from. So for example, we have Abu from Nigeria. Welcome, welcome, Abu. And can everyone hear me? I'm hoping everyone can hear me because the feed is kind of weird. I'm actually not seeing you guys as clearly as I would like. 1 second, please, but we are going to get going. We're going to give you information to help you with accuracy on the reading part C, and actually also give you a little quiz to kind of show and not tell. Okay, great. So I'm seeing you guys now. Good. So this is how we usually run the webinar. First, I'm going to do a small presentation to give you the highlights. And today's highlights, again, are about reading C and accuracy. And then after that, you get to ask me all kinds of questions, any questions that you want. We prioritize the topic for today, and the topic for this webinar is the reading C, but you can ask me about any part of the reading or maybe even about other subtests. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to screen share and give you the highlights of today's topic, and then we'll open the floor to your questions, okay? So 1 second, please, while I get my presentation all ready. So we're going to screen share here, and you see my bear. And then we are going to swap around, because I never get this right. I never do. But anyway, doesn't matter. We're here. Okay, good. So let me downsize here so I can see you guys as I speak, because I want to be able to answer your questions. So first of all, hello, Apple. Oh, that's a lovely name. And Janelle is writing in from the Philippines, and you can hear me loud and clear. Absolutely excellent. Kalina, welcome, welcome. Let's see who else we have. For some reason, my view is limited, but I think the feed is just really slow and quite annoying today, but that's okay. We'll just press on. Okay, so today, as we said, we're looking at the reading part C, and the reading part C can be challenging for many people for a number of reasons. And basically the question and the biggest challenge is accuracy and focus. Are you focusing on the right thing? So just a quick overview of the reading part C for those of you who are now coming in. Oh, I'm seeing people here is calling in from China. Here I am right next door. I am in Taipei. And we have Thomas, who is coming in from Zambia. Welcome. We also have someone from Swaziland. Luxus. Or is that luscious? Samuel, welcome, welcome, welcome. And we even have Sonu Kamal from India, welcome as well. And anyone else joining, welcome, welcome. So as you probably know by now, the reading part C is usually done together with the reading part B for a total of 45 minutes. And the part C, which is where we're focusing today, has 2 longer texts, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Each one is about 7 to 8 paragraphs and a total about, 800 to 1,000 words each. It's going to be on a healthcare topic, which can be clinical, administrative, or research, but something related to health. And it's going to have 8 questions per text, and each one is going to have a 4-option MCQ, and only 1 answer is correct. Now, with the topic, one of the common challenges that sometimes throws people's brains into, disarray is, how can we say, oh, I am not familiar with this topic. But being a specialist on the healthcare topic is not needed. Not only that, but being a specialist does not give you any advantage in doing better in a question in part C of the reading. So don't worry about the fact that you're a psychiatric nurse and it's about pediatrics, or the fact that you're a pediatric nurse and it's about, I don't know, cardiology or dermatology. It does not matter. Okay. So the reading part C, what are some of the important skills you're going to need? First of all, no matter what your background, you are going to need a wide grammar vocabulary. And please remember that everyone, all 12 professions of OET, do the same listening and reading. So the vocabulary and grammar is listening, the vocabulary and grammar is language that anyone in healthcare who is at a high, intermediate, or advanced level of English can be familiar with and can recognize, or at least most of it. So skimming and scanning is another skill. Fast reading. Fast reading does not mean you are a speed reader of every single word, rather that you have the skill to kind of read and skip, read and skip, read and skip, while picking up the gist of what is being said. Because you do not have time in the reading part C to read everything. On average, you're looking at 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes for each question in the BNC. So that's not enough time for you to read everything in the text in detail. So you need to have the skimming and scanning skills well practiced. Then, unlike the reading A, you're not reading for very specific detail. Rather, you're looking at a broader bit of text and broader meaning, kind of understanding, sometimes even reading between the lines to kind of figure out what is the real meaning. And there is a lot of rephrasing. So do not expect that the exact same words that are in the part C are going to be in the text, are going to be in the question. So there'll also be things like understanding inference. In other words, the information you're giving, what is the next natural step? And also grammar and idioms, what we call like articles and indicatives. What are these? What is that referring to? Those, that, this, it. And sometimes idioms that you may or may not recognize, but we'll also talk a little bit about that as well. So your broader communication skills are definitely needed. This is not a part of the test where you're looking for a literal language. Now, sometimes because many of you have English as a second language or as a foreign language, you may come across words in your listening and your reading, even in the case notes, that you may not know firsthand. But you should have the ability to be able to figure out the meaning based on the context. So what I mean by that is, we've got a word here. I've never seen that word before, but I do recognize what above it means. I do recognize what below means. Therefore, I can assume that this means X. And this is a skill you actually have to pick up, because a lot of people, the minute they see a word or language that they don't recognize, their brain freezes and they assume they cannot figure it out. But a lot of the times you can figure it out, okay? And then another skill is attention to detail. And this is the one we're going to be focusing on today. Paying attention to the language, which might be changing the meaning of a statement. So let's talk a little bit more about this. The reading part C, just like the reading part B, just like the listening part B and C as well, requires you to really understand and focus in on what is really being asked in the question, and in the options, what is the option really saying? Okay, now here I'm going to step back and maybe say something that is opposite to what I said before. Now remember, what I said before is you do not have time to read all of the text in detail. So you've got to be able to read and skip, read and skip, read and skip, and get the gist. Skip until you realize, this is the language I'm looking for, and then work in that specific area. However, with the questions and options, I like to tell my students actually quite the opposite. Here is where you really want to be reading every single word in detail. And why? Because often there are subtle changes, rephrasing, a change in one word, or a distraction that actually changes the meaning. And too often students are so focused on the text and looking for things that are the same here and there, that what happens is they don't read carefully. Okay? And then they assume they know what the question is asking, but did not slow down enough to really pay attention. So, what are some of the challenges then that can affect that focus that you have, that can affect that concentration, that can affect that attention to detail? Well, there are many, but these are the four big ones that I come across again and again and again in dealing with students. First of all, just being overwhelmed by the length of the text. Oh, in part B, it was only 100 words. Now I have this whole long text. But guess what? Don't worry about that, because each question refers to a specific paragraph. And they actually tell you what paragraph it is. They'll say paragraph 2 or the 4th paragraph, or they will reference something that is only in a particular paragraph. Okay? And you do not need to know what was in any paragraph before or after to answer that question. As a matter of fact, you could take the question paper and fold it up and only show that paragraph, and you would still be able to answer the question related to that paragraph correctly. Okay? So don't worry about the fact it's being a long text. Don't think of it as a long text. Think of it as 7 or 8 short texts. The other thing that can really challenge and fry your focus and concentration and attention to detail is reading stamina. Now, what do we mean by reading stamina? Literally, we mean your ability to sit for a long time, reading, in this case, English, and not have your brain grow tired and lose focus, and the words just start jumbling on the page. Because remember, by the time you get to do the reading part C, you've already been reading a long time. And yes, we come across students all the time that will tell you, I don't like reading. Okay? And my answer to that is, in this case, get over it. Because one of the absolute best ways to improve your not just vocabulary and grammar, but reading skills is by reading. Reading is by far one of the most excellent ways to improve your language and your skills in the reading test. I know you don't like to hear that. There are many people out there thinking, oh, but I want a shortcut. I want a way to crack the reading. There is no one key. I'm sorry. Anyone who tells you, oh, you just need this one tip and you will crack the reading. The reading part C is about understanding language. So you need to understand language. To understand language, you need to read it. Okay. And as you read, if you're not accustomed to reading English regularly, read for 5 minutes. That's fine. Read for 5 minutes this week. Next week, read every day for 10 minutes. The week after that, read every day for 15 minutes until you can sit and read English for an hour and it's not a problem. So that's what we mean by reading stamina, so that by the time you get to the reading part C, your brain can just keep it going. It's not a challenge. Another thing that might affect your focus is that for many people, it's easier when you are answering literal questions. Okay, I need this one word that is literally here in the text. But as I mentioned before, here you're looking for the meaning of things and they say things in different words. So you need to understand more widely. It also means that sometimes things look familiar and you go, oh, that looks the same, and you jump. Don't just jump at what seems obvious, because that could be a distraction. Sometimes it's just one word change or 2 words changed, and they can change the meaning in a big way. So again, read the questions and options closely. I like to tell my students, slow your eyes down. If you're doing the paper-based test, use your pencil or pen if you must, and slow your eyes down to make sure you read carefully. And the other challenge is distractors. Now, what do I mean by distractors? Remember I said here, small word changes can change meaning in a big way. So what kind of small changes can kind of trip you up if you are not paying attention? First of all, it could be things like words that look alike. Okay. It could be what we call word families. If you have not heard the term word families before, it's like this. You have the word criticize, that's the verb. But then you have other words that relate and are connected to it. So criticize is the verb, the noun, the person is critic. Another kind of noun could be critique. All right. Then you have adjectives like critical. And then you have adverbs like critically. Those are what we call word families. And sometimes what happens is you see words from the same word family. There's one in the text, there's one in the question. Ooh, that must be the answer. Check. Sometimes it's just a distraction. Another thing that can distract you is context. When a familiar point is mentioned, but the context is different. Here's an example. Let's take that criticize or what's not. So you may see, say that they were criticizing the amount of money that is being spent on something. So in the text, they talk about the amount of money being spent. In the option, they have the, they are increasing the amount of money being spent. Now, in both places, you have money being spent, but the context is different. In the text, they're talking about criticizing the amount of money being spent. But when you read the option carefully, it's like, they're actually talking about increasing the amount of money being spent. Those two things are different. The context is different. Okay, so pay attention to context. And then another distractor are adverbs of time or adverbs of, I don't know, condition or what's not. Words like always, never, particularly, plausibly, possibly. Why? Because these words tell you about frequency, how often something happens, or how severe something is. And by changing that one word, it also changes the meaning of the sentence it's in. So it can go from always to rarely. Now, clearly, those are two different words, two different meanings, okay? So anytime you see words, well, here they're time adverbs, always and never, but also obligation, must or must never. Should, words like that, these are words that you can change from must to option, have the option of, and it changes the meaning, okay? So in practicing on your own, as you work through, a nice tip to do is when you do a paper, note the kinds of questions that you get right and the kinds of questions you get wrong. Note especially if it is that, oh, I didn't read it properly. And that's the classic sentence that people say, oh, I didn't read it properly, so I missed that. You don't want that to happen. And what you can do is with your tutor or in your practice, work on that point. Because by far, one of the biggest issues that I've noted in students that I've worked with in the Reading Part C and accuracy is that they're not paying attention to the little details in the question and in the option. Another thing, of course, is that affects accuracy is just not understanding the language. But again, unfortunately, that is not something that you can change between now and tomorrow or now and this weekend. Language learning, language building takes time, and it takes your dedication to reading frequently and listening to the language frequently. Okay, so let's try here a little pop quiz, if you would like to call it that. And here, the question we have, the type is rephrasing and synonyms. So again, you may have the need to have a bit of a wider vocabulary to understand the language here versus the language here. So let's try a little exercise here, just 2 minutes. Here's the text, here's the question. The question, the writer's main point in the 4th paragraph is that medical practitioners. Now, as a teacher, I can tell you the minute I see main point, my eyes just glue onto that, because I start thinking they're going to be talking about multiple things in this paragraph, but I am looking for the main issue, the main message that they're trying to get out. Okay, so I might underline that or highlight that. So option A, medical practitioners risk forgetting what they initially learned. Okay, so risk forgetting learned, are encouraged to specialize too narrowly, encouraged, specialized too narrowly, are given too few opportunities to gain expertise, too few opportunities, expertise, become increasingly uncomfortable with the unfamiliar, okay? Uncomfortable, unfamiliar. So as I read, I'm kind of focusing on those main points. I might even reword them in my head so they stick, and then I go to the text. By the time they qualify, all medical practitioners should have been trained in the management of. Nevertheless, many of us may not have had any specific training in communication skills, blah, blah, blah. As we progress and get better at doing things, we feel more and more awkward when we encounter problems for which we haven't been blah, 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 blah. And this may put us off facing them. Okay. Again, you notice there that I didn't read every single word. I went, okay. So I'm going to give you a minute or two and see if you can decide what the answer is. Now, some of you may have done this paper before. It is an official OET practice test called Breaking Bad News, but it doesn't matter. Give it a try. And get better at doing things. Sorry. We feel more and more off. Sorry about that. Okay. So everyone is saying now. Hold on. So everyone. Okay. Sorry. Right. So let's see. Awkward is uncomfortable. Oh, we've got answers pouring in here. Sundari is saying D. A lot of people are saying D. Liba is saying D, but Ejaz is saying, Ahmad is saying B. Let's see what the answer might be. D. They become increasingly uncomfortable with the unfamiliar. Now, you may be tempted to try A. What was learned. So here they talk about what was learned. So they do talk about what was learned, but the context is different. It is in the context of them already being good at it. We get better at doing things we've been trained for. You might be tempted, yes, to pick B, but they don't really discuss specialization, which is different from the word specific. Okay, so this is an example of words that look similar, but the meaning is different. Okay, in fact, specialization and being trained for are also different. Okay, so B is offering the distraction of words that look familiar. And C, they're not really talking about having too few opportunities to gain expertise. And this is common in the reading part C, also in the listening part C and B. There's always one that you can just chuck out immediately, and then you're left with the others to pick from, okay? So the hint to the answer is we feel more and more awkward, which means uncomfortable, when we encounter problems for which we haven't prepared. So uncomfortable, awkward mean the same thing, okay? So that's a bit of vocabulary. Let's, try the next one. Here we go. Here, question 19. In the 5th paragraph, the writer suggests, now you see the word suggests, again, it's telling you it's not something literal that I'm reaching for. I'm reading to see what bits of information are there and what conclusion I can draw from them. That's what an inference is. It's a kind of conclusion. The writer suggests that medical practitioners worry about, and I also pay attention to the worry about, because I start thinking, well, They might be talking about medical practitioners' attitude towards a lot of things, but I'm supposed to focus on what they're worrying about, okay? Wasting people's time, so wasting time, losing people's respect, losing respect, hurting feelings, offending, or revealing details, breaching confidentiality. So what I like to do also is kind of like reword it in my head so that my brain is kind of ready for different bits of language. So let's go to the text. There's also concern about what may happen once. Good. What happens if the patient has a bad reaction? Not knowing how to deal with the consequences of what we say breaks one of the more important rules. It makes us appear inadequate. It's generally regarded as better if goes smoothly. All right. Again, you saw me there doing my skimming and scanning, not reading every word. So I'll give you a minute. What do you think the answer might be? Again, let me refresh here because I am not seeing it. Not knowing how to deal with the concept. Sorry, guys. My feed is a little bit slow. So to keep up, I have to keep refreshing. All right. Okay. Let's see, answers are pouring in again. Okay, we've got a wide variety this time. Nico is saying D. Lillian is saying C. Somebody else said B, better for all involved, B, Finzi. Francis is saying B. And then we have just a couple more waiting on. Liba is saying B. Okay, so we've got a mix. Dum, dum, dum. The answer is B. Okay, they're worried about losing people's respect. And yes, Sundari, you nailed it on the head. It's a rephrasing as well, because losing respect means the same as appearing inadequate. So this is a rephrasing as well, and also an inference. Okay, so the hit to the answer is breaking rules of accepted professional behavior. It makes us appear inadequate in our own eyes and those of others. Absolutely correct. All right. So those are examples of little distractors and rephrasing that can throw you off. But again, one of the things to help you with your accuracy, remember, ask yourself the question, am I focusing on the right thing? When it comes to the questions, read the question carefully. Be absolutely sure that you know what the question is asking. Read the options carefully. Be absolutely sure you're clear on what each option. Tell yourself, are there any distractors in here that I should be aware of? And then answer your question, okay? So overall, how can you improve your accuracy and reading skills for part C? Build up your reading stamina so your brain doesn't get tired and your mind start to wander and not pay attention. Practice attention to detail. And if you do have, for those of you who have your OET coming up this weekend, well, you still have a few days, so try your best. But mostly to those of you who have a couple of weeks or even more before your OET and the part C is a particular challenge for you, what I like to say is work first on accuracy and then on speed. Why do I say this? You see the race car here? It's here for a reason. Race car drivers I like to use because they don't get fast by starting out, getting in the car and going fast by day one. No, they learn how the car works. They, get really, really quick at changing and paying attention and focusing for a long period of time. sometimes to the point where they get tunnel vision. And once they have done this circuit slowly a few times, then they can build up speed. Speed is a product of accuracy and know-how. Speed without accuracy and know-how is a disaster on the racetrack, and it is a less than passing mark in OET. All right. So I hope that was helpful to you guys. And you can see here this poor person overwhelmed by the reading. So feel free to pop over to our website where we have a lot of resources and a lot of products that can help you with your reading. You can scan the QR code you see here, pop over to our website. You can go straight to the OET preparation page, and there you will see our wide range of products. So you can do all of OET preparation, or you can just focus on where you want to focus. You can visit our shop, and in our shop, again, you will see all the products that we have. And our shop is nice and easy because all you do is you type in reading or listening or whatever, and those are the products that will pop up for you. So you don't have to read through anything. Or we do have a resources page that you might check out. There's some free stuff there as well. Okay, so that's it, everyone, for today. I hope that it was helpful for you and that you were able to pick up some tips. For those of you who want a quick fix, maybe something today will help you for this coming weekend. But for those of you who have a little more time to play with, get practicing. All right. So if there are any questions now, I can spare a few more minutes to answer. Again, about the reading part C. But if you want to ask me about anything else, you can ask. Okay. Well, Finzi, you are welcome, and Lillian as well. And actually, this time, because of the tech problems at the beginning, I didn't welcome everyone. So we have Xie from China, yes. Joy from Botswana, welcome. We have Kwan from Vietnam. We have Bibina from India. Wow, you guys are coming in from all over the world. We've got Thailand. And to all of you who are doing OET, best of luck, positive vibes going out to you. I wish you the very, very best. And if we can help you, hop on over to our website, promedicalenglish.com. You'll see Banfield's Professional Medical English at the top, and or send us an email. Go to our contact page. Okay. All right. Okay, we've got time for a couple of questions. So Darap said, in part C, are we supposed to read the options right after the question or read them after reading the text? And this is Tenzin from Bhutan. That's a very good question. What you're asking about, Tenzin, is technique. Okay. Now, how I guide our students is like this, and how most of our teachers guide the students is like this. It's a big part. Well, it's a whole paragraph you have to read. Now you can read the paragraph and try to keep it in your head and then go to the questions, but you don't know what you're reading for. So yes, it helps your brain to focus if you read the question first. But then do you read the question and then go to the text, and then, or do you read the question and option and then go to the text? And for that, it varies. And here's why. There are some people who can hold a lot of information in their working memory at one time. Okay. I think somewhere they said that the average person can hold, sorry, maybe about 4 bits of information in working memory at any one time. But it varies. There's some people who can hold a lot of information in working memory, but there are other people who can only hold maybe 1 or 2 bits. If you can only hold a little bit in working memory at one time, it might be better for you to read the question, understand clearly what the question is asking, then pop over to the text, and then pop over to the question. If, however, you're one of these people that can hold a lot in your working memory, then you could read the question and options, and then go to the text. Sorry. Now me, I am kind of halfway in between, because honestly, my brain gets distracted a lot. So what I do is 2 things. Me personally, I do read the questions and the options, but if I am working on paper, and I often work on paper, I will then take a pencil and I will underline keywords in the questions and keywords in the options. And I do that to give my brain less to focus on. So instead of trying to remember all of these long sentences, instead I am putting 3 words here in my brain. I am keeping 3 words, 2 words, 1 word, because that's easier for me. Okay. The other thing I do myself is, for each option, I will actually reword it. So if you go back in the video, you would have seen that for a couple of the questions, I mentioned the main points, but then I reworded it myself. When I do that for myself, what it does is it kind of concretes it in my brain. And then I go to the text. But again, that is my technique. So you have got to know how your brain holds on to information. Okay, Tenzin? But whether you can hold a little in working memory or a lot in working memory, I strongly suggest that you read the questions first and then go to the text, because then you're reading with purpose. You're not just trying to hold on to everything. Okay, good. Alvarez, Apple, thank you. You are welcome. And additional information regarding the subtest part B. Apple, actually, I think somebody else is doing that tutorial on reading part B. So I don't want to steal their thunder. But so I would say, to be perfectly honest though, here's a quick tip. You see the tips that I just gave you for the reading part C? Use them in reading part B and vice versa. Because the biggest difference between the part B and the part C is the length of the text and how many options, but the technique is the same. Okay, all right. Thank you. All righty. Okay, ma'am, thank you so much. Regarding options, before text are always, reading options are always, yeah, it makes life a lot easier. Okay. All right, guys. So I hope that was helpful. We're wrapping up right now. So again, last time, good luck to all of you who are doing OET. See you next month. Bye-bye.